Welcome to another edition of Growth and Balance. We do growth and balance for one reason and one reason alone: to create value for the agents we know. Today, we're going to talk about how to farm a Philly neighborhood. Now, when we talk about farming, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the city. It doesn't have to be a neighborhood. It could be a suburban town. It could be a homeowners association. It could be an apartment complex or a condo complex. So when we think of farming, try and think about it as one geographical area or one common bond for an area that allows you to make traction in that building or in that neighborhood. So today, we're going to go over two aspects of farming a Philly neighborhood. Number one, choose your farm. So when we choose a farm, we really have to be careful about how we do this. The first thing I'll say is go with what you know. And when I say go with what you know, I'm really referring to try and focus on where you live already. Maybe you already write some business there. And if not, you probably know it backwards and forwards. So if you know your own neighborhood backwards and forwards, starting your farming there is probably going to be the best place to start. Another thing to consider is the turnover rate. So when we're choosing a farm, we want to make sure there's a certain level of turnover in that particular neighborhood or in that HOA condo apartment complex. Because when you look to farm a neighborhood, you need to understand if business is actually moving in that neighborhood. So for whatever reason, if you choose a farm where a lot of people just stay for decades and real estate doesn't really change hands that often, that's probably not the best farm for you. So something to consider, try and shoot for about 6% or more of turnover in a given area. You can figure that out with how many units have sold in the last year and how many units there are in the entire neighborhood or development. Something else to consider too when choosing your farm is competition. Are there a lot of agents doing marketing farming in this neighborhood? Or is there little competition? If the competition is not as fierce, this is probably a great place for you to start your farming. Number two, farming strategies. Let's go over a few tips here and a few different ways to look at how to farm your Philly neighborhood. One thing to consider is digital farming. So most of the time when we think of farming, we're thinking of mailers, postcards, letters, flyers. We're thinking like presence in a neighborhood. But again, you can have an amazing presence in a neighborhood online as well. So when we talk about digital farming, we're talking about Facebook groups that are tied into that neighborhood or that HOA apartment condo complex. We're talking about, other websites that showcase like things going on in that neighborhood, like things to do, events, lifestyle, families, couples, pets, all of that. And then three, just talk about the areas that people focus on. So schools and parks and nonprofits and street festivals. All this stuff has to do with a particular neighborhood, an HOA, or an apartment condo complex. So when we talk about digital farming, this is you really building your presence online within that neighborhood. So commenting, posting, blogging, having a presence on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, that is how digital farming is achieved. I also want to talk to you about the snail mail approach, which is what I referred to already. That's really getting all of the addresses in your farming area and either sending a series of postcard campaigns or letter campaigns or flyers that neighborhood will see at local businesses, billboards, sponsoring a youth sports team. So try and think about, when you're talking about the snail mail approach, this is really you being like involved in that neighborhood, more of like a physical presence and not necessarily a digital presence. And the last one is boots on the ground. So when we're talking about a farming strategy of boots on the ground, this is the type of person that actually likes to knock on doors. So maybe going through the neighborhood, knocking on doors, introducing yourself, saying what you have to offer of value to that particular neighbor, and seeing if you can get appointments. This is also networking within the neighborhood. So, a local chamber of commerce, a local BNI or LaTip group, whatever the local community nonprofit is that's maybe helping with the Main Street, things of that nature. So boots on the ground is really you getting out, shaking hands, passing out business cards, but you're doing it all within your farming area that you're choosing to work. I hope those tips were helpful today. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.